On the cold, quiet night of February 1st, 2026, the suburban silence of Tucson, Arizona, was fractured by an event that would soon become a national obsession. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of beloved Today show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, was in the safety of her own home, a sanctuary she had inhabited for decades, surrounded by the comfort of family photos and a lifetime of quiet memories. But in a window of less than 15 minutes, that sanctuary was violated in a way that defied every modern security measure. For 34 days, the American public has watched the news cycle with bated breath, waiting for a breakthrough that seemed destined to come from a single piece of physical evidence, a black synthetic grip glove found 2 miles away in the desert brush. It was the smoking gun that everyone, from the FBI to the casual viewer at home, believed would break the case wide open. But today, March 6th, 2026, that hope has been surgically dismantled. The DNA results are in, and they have led the investigation into a devastating dead end. To understand the gravity of this failure, one must look at the agonizing timeline of the disappearance, a sequence of events that highlights just how calculated this abduction truly was. At 11:30 p.m. on February 1st, Nancy Guthrie spoke to her daughter Savannah on the phone, a routine good night call that gave no hint of the nightmare to follow. By 11:42 p.m., each of the neighborhood's digital heartbeat began to flatline. Neighbors later reported that their smart televisions began to buffer, their Wi-Fi routers blinked red, and their cell phones dropped to no service. At 11:50 p.m., the front door of the Guthrie residence was accessed. By 12:05 a.m., the signal returned to the street, the digital blackout ended, and the house was empty. When a wellness check was performed the following morning at 8 a.m., the only thing left behind was a front door slightly ajar and a doorbell camera that had been physically ripped from its mount. The story of the DNA setback begins shortly after this disappearance, on February 12th. A volunteer search party, navigating the rugged terrain near the Santa Catalina foothills, spotted the glove tucked beneath a creosote bush. To the naked eye, it looked tactical, almost clinical, not the kind of item a casual hiker would drop in the midday sun. The Tucson Police Department and the FBI treated the find with the highest level of forensic care, cordoning off the area as a secondary crime scene. The media frenzy was instantaneous. For weeks, the narrative was built entirely around this glove. Every expert on every major network told the public to wait for the DNA. We were told that the DNA would provide a name, a face, and a location. But the reality of forensic science is often messier than the television dramas suggest. The DNA profile extracted from the glove was what scientists call low copy number, meaning the sample was faint and required multiple rounds of amplification to ensure a match. When the FBI finally ran the profile through the Combined DNA Index System, CODIS, and cross-referenced it with local records, the result was a cold shower for the task force. The DNA belonged to a 24-year-old local man who works at a nearby diner. He has no criminal record, no connection to the Guthrie family, and a rock-solid alibi for the night of the abduction. He had simply gone for a hike 3 days after Nancy went missing and lost his glove. This wasn't just a minor mistake, it was a massive resource drain. For 3 weeks, investigators had been chasing sales records for that specific brand of glove and interviewing anyone seen in that hiking area, while the real perpetrator was likely putting more distance between themselves and the crime scene. With the physical evidence evaporating, the investigation has been forced to pivot toward a much more chilling and sophisticated theory. This shift in the case has brought in the perspectives of leading criminal psychologists who are now painting a terrifying picture of the person they are hunting. According to experts in predatory behavior, this was not a crime of opportunity. The use of a high-gain, multi-frequency Wi-Fi jammer suggests a level of premeditation that borders on professional. Jammers of this caliber are illegal, but expensive, and require technical knowledge to operate without interfering with the user's own equipment. The psychologist's take is that we are looking for an organized offender, someone who likely stalked Nancy's digital life just as much as her physical one. This individual likely monitored Savannah Guthrie's social media or public appearances to determine when Nancy would be home alone and when the house would be most vulnerable. What the psychology of the kidnapper is further complicated by the absence of a traditional motive. Usually in high-profile abductions, the goal is either financial gain or a twisted desire for notoriety. However, the $1.2 million reward remains unclaimed, and the initial Bitcoin ransom demands have gone cold. A criminal psychologist would argue that this suggests the power control dynamic is the primary motivator. The kidnapper isn't looking for money. They are looking for the feeling of superiority that comes from outsmarting the FBI and holding the mother of a famous woman in their grasp. It is a game of digital chess, and so far, the kidnapper is 2 moves ahead. While the technical experts and psychologists argue over data packets and behavioral profiles, the human cost of this case continues to mount. Savannah Guthrie, a woman whose voice has been a source of comfort for millions of morning viewers, has become the tragic face of this mystery. In a video message released yesterday, she appeared smaller, her voice carrying the crushing weight of a month-long nightmare. She spoke of the heartbreak of the DNA setback, describing it as losing her mother all over again. The family had put their faith in that glove, and to have that hope taken away has left them in a state of profound grief. Despite this, Savannah has remained a pillar of strength, urging the public to keep looking and praying for a miracle. She acknowledged that while the DNA was a dead end, the search for the truth is far from over. The community has responded by turning the entrance to Nancy's neighborhood into a sea of yellow ribbons, Nancy's favorite color. But beneath the show of support, there is a haunting tension. Every neighbor is now looking at their own security cameras with a sense of distrust. If a jammer can render a thousands of dollars system useless, then no one is truly safe. The silence on the tip lines suggests that either the kidnapper is working entirely alone, or their motive is driven by something far more personal or ideological than simple greed. This silence is perhaps the most terrifying part of the mystery. It suggests a level of discipline that is rarely seen in common criminals. As we move into the second month of the investigation, the FBI has begun moving its primary command post from Tucson to Phoenix. To many, this looks like the federal government is scaling back, but insiders suggest it is actually a transition into a long-term investigative phase. The focus has shifted from the desert floor to the digital trail. The FBI is now tracing the purchase history of Ozark Trail 25-liter backpacks, the specific model seen in the distance on a neighbor's grainy backup camera, and subpoenaing records from retailers that sell high-end signal disruptors. They are looking for a digital footprint that matches the physical description of a masked individual, roughly 5 feet 10 inches tall, who was seen driving a dark SUV without headlights on the night of the disappearance. The investigation has moved from the dirt of the foothills to the invisible airwaves of the internet. The kidnapper may have avoided leaving DNA, but in the modern world, it is almost impossible to remain a ghost forever. Every electronic device leaves a trace, and every purchase leaves a trail. The FBI is banking on the idea that even the most sophisticated criminal eventually makes a mistake. A single login without a VPN, a single credit card swipe at a gas station, or a single moment of vanity where they check the news to see their own handiwork. But as the days turn into weeks, and the weeks turn into a month, the window of time for a safe return is closing. The search for Nancy Guthrie has become a race against both the clock and the shadows. And the yellow ribbons are starting to fade under the harsh Arizona sun. But the resolve to find Nancy has not diminished. The world remains watchful, the reward remains on the table, and the prayer for a miracle continues to echo from the suburban streets of Tucson to the skyscrapers of New York. The investigation is now at a critical tipping point. With the DNA evidence debunked and the physical trail gone cold, the FBI has issued one final, cryptic update that has sent shockwaves through the legal community. During a closed-door briefing yesterday, a lead agent reportedly mentioned that they have discovered encrypted pings emanating from a location they previously thought was cleared. This isn't just a new lead, it's a potential direct line to the captor. But there is a catch that has kept the Guthrie family up all night. The pings aren't coming from the desert, and they aren't coming from a remote hideout. So they are coming from within a 5-mile radius of the Today Show studios in Manhattan. This realization has turned the entire investigation upside down. Is it possible that Nancy Guthrie isn't in Arizona at all? Could she have been moved across state lines under the cover of the very tech glitches that blinded the police? Or, more disturbingly, is the kidnapper playing a much closer game than anyone dared to imagine? As Savannah Guthrie prepares to make her most difficult broadcast yet, the question isn't just, where is Nancy, but rather, how close is the person who took her? The digital shadow is moving, and the next signal might be the one that changes everything, or silences the case forever.